Okay, all right. So what we're going to try and do now is panel discussion, and the issue really is about getting people to work and making work for people. But before that, do you want to just do that another little stretch so that we got your full attention for this? Stand up, little stretch. Whoa! Are you too tired to stand? Come on, you have to stand. The circulation must go to your feet and your legs. Oh, shake your legs, shake your legs. Okay. All right. When you've got your body back, sit down. And to take us through this session, please welcome the Director of the Institute of People Development, somebody I'm sure you'll recognize, Giselle McIntyre.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are officially 1 hour late. So if you look in your manual edit or your program, it actually said we're supposed to start the session at 1 and then time warp our way back to 12:30. So we'll try our best to get into that. What I would like to do is just take you through a little bit of an introduction. They've asked me to be controversial, which is scary to say the least. And I have quite a panel of people that I'm sure you all want to speak to. So I'm going to go as fast as possible. And basically the topic connected to this is how do we get people to work? And then how do we get work for people? So I'm going to start with people to work. And that obviously would include things like performance management. And that would be a 3-day conference on its own. So we're not going to spend too much time on it. But we'll also have a look at things like how do we skill the talent we already have. Very often I think that some of our unemployment issues are connected to the fact that we have employed robots and zombies who we need to deal with in terms of what skills they have and placing them in the right places as well. We also need to be able to learn how to manage our managers. I often speak to people and I'd like to ask the question, can you please raise your hands? How many SDFs are there in the room? Skills Development Facilitators. Okay, it's funny, it's not as many as I thought there would be here, but I'm sort of preaching to the choir when I speak to SDFs most of the time, that we need to also teach our managers, our line managers, our operational managers about skills development, rather than leaving it up to the SDFs in the company. And then also making sure that we get the right people to do the right work. And I'm quoting from the amendment in the Employment Equity Act over there. If you've read the amendment, that's exactly what it says. Is getting the right people to work. So this is my take on performance management because we only have about 5 seconds to deal with it. And if you think about this, one of the big problems that we have in our companies is that we have trouble having those difficult conversations. So performance has been managed through money, which my personal opinion is very against. I'm quite sorry about the fact that we've created performance to run with performance bonuses. And I'd like to challenge the HR people in the room to say, let's remove the money from the performance criteria and see what happens. Because quite frankly, motivation of that money is for as long as it's in your bank account, which if you have a credit card means seconds. So it's very difficult to deal with it. But also to make sure, as we've already heard very articulately, that we should be training for skills. And that these budgets need to be connected to those skills. Doing skills audits in your company gives you a map which allows you to see what it is that you should be skilling and what you should be training. And by all means, if that's accredited training, I run an accredited training provider who works within the CISA world, and I'm actually a believer. But I do also know that there are lots of problems. It's a little bit turning sort of into the Crusades. You think about the Crusades, we're sort of getting back to that. Basically in the sense of how do we skill our talent, gap analysis being foremost in terms of that. And again, I'm preaching to the choir of the SDFs. Most skills development facilitators have been tasked that once a year, nowadays before the 30th of April instead of June, you need to get a whole bunch of numbers together and make sure you hand that into what is now called the Annexure 2 instead of the WSP. We just got used to one word. The problem with this is that this now becomes seen as something that if you're a good SDF should take you 3 months. If you're an excellent SDF should take you a week and hope the system doesn't crash when you're uploading 10,000 people's names onto the system. The idea, however, is that this is a continuous process and should be linked to your performance management. And if you want to know more, you're welcome to speak to me. The idea is that a personal development plan is exactly that. It's a plan for your development as a person, or IDPs as some people call it, individual development plan. So it's not a plan your manager quickly fills out on their SAP system 2 days before the WSP. So although there is lots of blame to be placed in lots of places, one of the places needs to be squarely at the feet of industry. If you are not dealing with skills properly, you cannot then turn around and wonder why there's no return on investment in it. There is a return on investment if you do it properly. Otherwise, there's zero return on investment. In fact, minus amounts. The other thing that's very important is that we seem to have articulated enough that there's a difference between leadership and management. And now we're on lots of leadership courses and people learning how to be self-evolving, competent human beings and all the wonderful words people use. But we forget that managing is also a skill that you need to learn in order to manage your own manager. And this is where I started with saying that if you have skills development facilitation running in a learning organization, and that's not a university, it's what I thought the first time I heard the word. Hey, a learning organization is an organization or a company that is open and amazed by learning, and that learning takes place in lots of different ways, both informally and formally. And that when you have learning organizations, I should be able to go to my manager, me, the individual with the PDP, and say, this is where I think my gaps are, and this is the kind of training I think I need. And that is a little difficult to do when I have absolutely no idea what skills I'm supposed to have to begin with. So managing my managers also includes asking my manager, what exactly is it that you're asking me to do every day? And these are not conversations that are held every day. We're more concerned about making sure people clock in with biometric systems than what they do once they're there. And we need to start changing that, because we're talking about unemployment all the time, and I'm starting to wonder how many people who are employed are also actually unemployed, or not in, doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then, of course, we need management expertise. And this does not include necessarily having someone with an MBA. There's the common joke, and I'm sorry, I know there are lots of people even in my panel with MBAs, but you know how you know when someone's got an MBA? They tell you. So I'd like to take a little slant on the Employment Equity Act. I love taking act. Pablo Picasso said that you must learn the rules well enough so that you can break them like an artist. Okay, so if you learn the rules well enough, if you look in the Employment Equity Act amendment, it talks about this, the right people for the right work. So I'd love to start seeing real, proper succession planning, rather than let's just see how many people we need in what field and quickly get all of this right for our numbers. And make sure that this includes skill audits, and that we actually do then create what I like to call as a curriculum design, and that actually doesn't have anything to do with the QCTO. A curriculum design for each career in your company, which starts with what they need in terms of formal study, but includes everything. Do you know how many people have been on a refresher course 3 times in 1 year when they only need to be refreshed every 18 months? Know them? I spoke to a man the other day who has been a forklift driver for 40 years of his life. Do you want to take a guess how many refresher courses he's been on to be a forklift driver? 40. Okay. Do you think he can't drive a forklift? No. What he can't do is manage his manager to say, excuse me, I've already been on one of those courses this year. Okay, so there's some other skills he needs. Making people work also includes things like delegation. Oh, another one of those management issues. We all think we can do everything properly ourselves and everyone else can't. The problem is that the person sitting next to you also thinks that. So there's a bit of a problem connected to that. If we have a look, and you'll get these slides, you're welcome to go and check them. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But one of the things that's most important for me in terms of delegation is choosing the right person. I run a training company, which means my entire focus and passion is on skilling people so that they are able to get on with their lives in a positive way. And very often that includes pushing them a little harder than they were expecting me to do. But I do think that that is how you choose the right person to delegate to as well. If you're giving someone something that you know they can do, I don't really think you're delegating. So this is my take on delegation in most companies, and we all do this. We're all very, very guilty of this. We will start with the delegation and then realize, oh, hold on, never mind. Hey, I'll just do it myself because this person didn't immediately jump up and down when I came up with the idea. Creating employment, entrepreneurship has always been quite a big thing. Sadly, maybe some of the worst case studies connected to NVC or new venture creation have come from the CETAs, in the sense that we have tried to take people who know nothing about business and help them to create some kind of small and medium enterprise, where most of us who are in small and medium enterprises spend years knowing nothing about businesses before we started our small and SME businesses, all in the hard way and all with 10, 15, 20 years of mistakes. The problem very often with creating employment is that we're not defining it correctly. If you speak to most of the youth, and I speak to them often, they don't see employment as me starting a company and employing 50 other people. They see entrepreneurship connected to employment as me starting a company that feeds my family. That's not the same thing. And perhaps that's where the skills audits and the gap analysis need to be, is what exactly is it that we're asking of someone when we say we must push entrepreneurship? Are we asking them to start something that helps them feed their family? Or are we asking them to start something that will feed 50 other families? And who says one is better than the other? Some of the common attributes or characteristics of entrepreneurs is things like having a can-do activity. You've all read these things before. We all know that they're there. One of my big concerns with entrepreneurs, true entrepreneurs, and I work with many of them, is that they can't run businesses. They start businesses. So what happens once you've started a good business? What then? You need good managers to run a business. Entrepreneurs, as a rule, within 2 to 3 years, will start driving their companies back into the ground because of their bad management styles. They're not meant to be managing, they're meant to be starting more companies. And if we don't get this right, which means we need to skill more good managers, it doesn't help we start a whole bunch of new companies. Intrapreneurship, concept that was coined in 1992, which basically means that you take all of those attributes from the previous slide and have these as employed people. Obviously is quite a keen concept if you think about it. I would like to have everyone in my company thinking about how we can make money. But here comes my performance management issue now again. If my performance management is connected to performance bonuses, the individual cares only about his particular performance because that's what he's measured against. In my company, we do it a little radically. We have a profit sharing model. There are a few big companies that have tried it as well, and some successfully so. There's stories of tea ladies earning 500,000 Rand of profit in a year. In my company, everybody works for the same amount of profit. There's no profit, nobody gets anything. There's enough profit, it gets shared around equally. I don't care what your position is. I love this. Basically, the saying that some people in the world make things happen. Some people in the world watch things happening. They're also important. They're called journalists. Same. They're not supposed to make it happen. No, they're supposed to watch it happen. And some people in the world wonder what's happening, which is pretty much anyone who doesn't know how to use the internet nowadays. It gives me great pleasure to announce that the panelists will now each come and do a little talk of their own. We're going to keep them down to 10 minutes, okay? And very quickly so that you can then ask them some questions afterwards. I will, as soon as they've each had a turn, come stand back here. We'll just then ask you to use your microphones, please. So if you want to quickly fiddle with it to see how it works, please do so. You can lift up the little goodie there, and there's a light that will come on when you switch it on. Please don't put it on now, because if you're gossiping about the panelists while they're talking, we'll all hear you. And then we'll get started with it. Thank you. Okay, Patrick. So the first speaker is Patrick. He's from Rand Water, and let's hear what he's got to say.
All right. I think it's good afternoon already. Some of us, we are very hungry, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible. My name is Thabo Patrick Keswa. I represent Rainwater in Glen Vista, the south of Johannesburg. It's a state-owned entity, and we are driving basically skills development. So I'm going to take you through a journey as to exactly what do we do to get people to work and making work for people. All right, so what happens when we have to become active citizenry in South Africa? As I turn up the collar of my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with no enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending to not to see their needs? As some disregard a broken bottle top and one man's soul, they follow each other on the winter, you all know, because they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know. Who said those words? Anybody? It's a free iPad that you will get.
Puff Johnson.
Right. Okay. As a state-owned entity, I think what we drive basically as Rainwater is we drive skills development from the internal as well as from the external perspective. And our main focus really is not only just to drive performance of people that work for Rainwater, but we're trying to say, okay, now let's just look at ourselves in the mirror and understand who we are and where we're going to go and how other people can actually be skilled to basically serve the country as well as serve themselves as well as their families. Now, who am I to ignore this? South Africa belongs to all its people. We, the people, belong to one another. We live the rainbow. The faces of our children tell of the future we have crafted. So look at yourself and see what can you do to make a difference. So now, how do we get the people to work and making work for people? One of the things that comes into mind is what you call that informal training that is now had to be structured. That's on-the-job training that happens. The technology taking turns. I mean, people are now moving into the e-technology route. What happens in the social media platform? How do we make use of the digital marketing space in the skills development arena in driving the agenda of skills development? One of the things is social learning. How do we learn at a social platform? How do we learn from a social setting? I mean, you hear of people going on golf days and they learn from each other. I think it's something that actually works quite effectively. So, growing our focus on knowledge retention. We often lose the key people, key talent in the business that are leaving us from other organizations. What are we going to do to retain the knowledge that we have that is quite key? And then learner support programs, of which they are quite key. We are driving the skills development, we are driving training and development of people, but we actually forget and we don't actually see the light of what you call the learner support programs. That is actually very important. Performance consulting. Now, we as training and development people, we have to actually now move into what you call performance consulting rather than just driving the skills development agenda. But we need to look at what can we do to consult with departments, to consult with the managers and the leaders in the business in driving performance of the people that will lead into the bottom line of the organization. One of the things now, the learner is now becoming a customer. We have to start becoming a lot more customer-centric as people that are in the learning and development space, driving the skills development agenda. And then one of the things also is the leadership development that is quite key, that is playing a critical role in ensuring that people get trained, and then we drive skills development as well as through leadership to ensure that people achieve the business results. Coaching and mentoring also becomes quite key. All right, so now working for a state-owned entity is actually quite a very nice thing because you can't get rid of people when people don't perform. The reality is we can't retrench at all. So we have to work with the people that we have and make sure that we improve their performance. So we work with the same people. We're trying to improve their performance. So now what we do, we look at the capability development in terms of the skills, the knowledge, as well as personal attributes. We look at the capacity. Are they able to basically deliver what they promised to actually have acquired during their learning? And then we look at the organizational capabilities that will drive not only capacity of the people, but also capability development. So now, if you look at the rainwater capacity building and the talent management model, is that we are basically sitting on what you call the rainwater capability architecture, and we're very much talking to the business delivery model. So we take it from there. So we, as the capacity building within rainwater, we rely solely on from the talent management division to actually inform us as to what we need to do from the capability development perspective, and that feeds into our capability development strategy. Then we have to start doing all the development, the business plans, and so forth. Then we have to do the pre and post training of people. So now, during the capacity building architecture that we have at Rainwater is that our vision basically in capacity building, we are trying to create a learning culture that will encourage lifelong learning, recognition and development of talent in all areas of business, but includes not limited to the unemployed youth in South Africa. So in whatever that we do, we take care of the people out there that are unemployed. This is a brief synopsis of what you call the governance structure of Rainwater. So it's very much a state-owned entity. There are a lot of actually structures that you have to go through in order for something to be approved. But one thing that comes into mind, we have the 3 Ps that drive this. So we've got the people that are basically qualified ETD practitioners or ETD coordinators, qualified assessors, qualified skills development facilitators. We have got the programs that are aligned. But Suzanne, yes, we do have those that are not NQF-able as well. And then the processes that are also driving that. And they're all sitting on what you call the quality management system. So we are driving the governance structure because in everything that we do, it has to go through necessary structures in order for that to be delivered. Now, the competence profile, this is the team that basically exists within the Rainwater team. So now you have a number of people that are working in this department, and they all have functional competencies that they need to have. I've partnered with Giselle before previously, and in driving these competencies. So I looked at the strategy, Suzanne, like you said, my own strategy within the capacity building, and then I look at what are the competencies that will drive each function or each position, and then align the training and development according to that. This gets presented to Giselle, then Giselle will then customize the training to suit my needs. As a result, you'll have competent people within capacity building that will be able to add value, not only to the business, but to their lives as well. So they are critical cross-field outcomes that are critical, that applies to across the board within the capacity building space. This is just a synopsis of the structure of the capacity building at Rainwater. We have people that are sitting at corporate head office, and the skills development facilitator, the leadership development consultant, the educational development practitioner, the ETD data analyst, water training manager, ETD quality analyst, and capacity building consultant. So now what we've created what you call the Center of Excellence at corporate head office. Now what we've done we've created the Center of Excellence that will service what you call the 7 different sites that we have available. So we have the ETD practitioners across different sites that we service. These are the people that are interfacing with business on our behalf when it comes to how do we get the people working. So they hear from us from the Center of Excellence as to how people should be trained and what are the processes should be followed in terms of capacitating people within Rainwater. Right, if you look at our capacity building strategy, I'm sure some of you guys have looked at our booklets outside in our stand, and it will unpack basically as to what our capacity building strategy 2012-2015 is all about. There are a number of streams that unpacks basically the strategy. And then if you look at them, there's operation and service excellence, there's leadership excellence, there's innovation through technology, water training excellence, as well as giving back to the community. Now, giving back to the community is very, very important to us because what we are saying, we are not just only driving the skills development from the internal perspective. What we are saying really is that what can we do to touch the lives of those that are sitting at home? Now, by aligning also the capacity building strategy and objectives, we're trying to align ourselves with the Rainwater business strategy. Say, what role do we fit into actually addressing the objectives of the business? So we have aligned all other business objectives into the capacity building strategy to ensure that there's proper delivery of what needs to be achieved. Right, this is our strategic delivery model that we work with as well. And then we have the stable strategic platform. We have the caring for people. and the transformation for the future, as well as the strategic platform. Now, there's organizational effectiveness when it comes to our leadership. So what we're trying to look at basically what is the vision and the mission of Rainwater, and then what is the total business strategy, what would be the competencies driving that strategy, and look at basically what are the competencies that are required per leadership level. From there, we are able to basically go back to the performance management cycle. We say, okay, now, how do you performance plan in terms of what is the job description or job specification, and then we follow through the performance reviews. And then, but now what is more important is to basically understand as what is the business improvement model that we're trying to work with. We look at the capability assessments, the capacity assessments, and we look at the values and the culture that drives that, and then we take it from there. Then now, what is more important to us, because in order for us to understand as to where we are going, we need to also understand the ETD data intelligence that exists within the system. So we have a learning management system that basically supplements the SAP system that we have. This captures the ETD data intelligence that we actually have at Rainwater. We are able to actually to make well-informed decisions. What is important is actually what you get in the garbage, you can actually get out at the same time. So you need to ensure that whatever data that you get in the system is correct, is accurate, so that you're able to make well-informed decisions. Now, this is some of our things that we are doing as part of our giving back to the community programs. We have learnerships that we are running. As you know, that we are, purification company, state-owned entity, and we have learnerships in water purification, wastewater. We have technical disability learnerships that we run, business administration learnership. We have the GDP programs, apprenticeship programs, as well as bursary programs that we do. This is all for the giving back to the community projects that we have. Now, where do we fit in when it comes to employer branding of the organization? So we are playing a critical role in ensuring that we have good training opportunities that are available. We have mentoring and coaching. There's growth and advancement. So we play a huge role again in career expos that we actually participate in at Rainwater to ensure that Rainwater is seen as a good brand and people are attracted to work for the brand. So now, the man in the mirror is basically Michael Jackson. So I'm starting with the man in the mirror, and I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Lastly, is that most of the time we do things that feed our stomachs, but this alone is not good enough to change the world we live in. We need to start doing things that feed our souls. I thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I think that was very good. I must tell you, I learned a wonderful word when I was working with one of their curricula, and that is if you go to any restaurant in Gauteng, you should be able to ask the waiter for deflocculated water. And in case you were wondering, that simply means that it's clean. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is Renee. All of their bios are in the book, so I'm not going to spend time on them. But welcome, Renee.
Good day. I was going to say good morning, but everything changed. We're already in the afternoon. But I would like to start off by saying something about myself, which I very seldom do, but I noticed that the CV in the booklet stops in 2004. And that is when I exited the higher education sector and entered entrepreneurship, which was referred to quite often today. And I am now director of Thinking Fusion, a company that trains leaders in South Africa and already have trained 40 facilitators that we use permanently, and we have trained a few thousand leaders in South Africa. And then I'm now also CEO of a company called Let's Go, which has a target to train 1 million young people by 2020 through 600 facilitators. So I think we are a prime example of one can become an entrepreneur in South Africa and make a difference. But I would like to talk to you about the connection economy today, and not about the work that Thinking Fusion or Let's Go is doing. And the reason for that is that we've discovered through all this work in 10 years extensively in most organizations in South Africa, that organizations, leaders and followers do not understand the economy they need to operate in and therefore make errors, aren't employed, make the errors that everyone has referred to, and employ the wrong people. I will try again. It's not working. How does everyone else get it right? It's going now. No. Oh. In the connection economy, the first question that one needs to ask is not just why should people buy from you, which most organizations do, but more importantly now the question is why should they work for you? And organizations, and he just explained it around water, that is the question that an organization needs to ask. People can move about, there is a skill shortage, and they can move to organizations that can give them that. Also, organizations and people now create competitive advantage through authentic relationships inside and outside of the organization. You can immediately hear from the words connection economy that it is not the connected economy through the internet or emails or cell phones. The connection economy is the economy based on the relationships between people. All of us have technology and capital and all the other things. The differentiator is people, and the differentiator in people is the ability to build relationships. So, relationships are neither between the organization nor between contracts, but it's between people. The final aspect that matters in either choosing to buy from you or to work for you is the experience people have in their interaction with people of your organization. So in the end, all of this work that needs to be done in developing people, one of the important skills to develop is relationship skills, the ability to build and keep a relationship going. So in this new economy, who you are matters most. Ethical behavior, being authentic, and being emotionally intelligent are important. Define you and determine whether a relationship you have will continue and prosper over time or whether it will just die down. Being emotionally intelligent in this economy implies that you have the ability to hover before judging or making a decision. That you not only understand your emotions in a particular situation, but more importantly, that you also understand the impact of your emotions on others. It means that you are prepared to work and stay motivated beyond the reward you will receive, and they have referred to that earlier today. That you have the skill in treating people according to their emotional reactions, not yours, and that you have an ability to find common ground and build rapport. The world in the connection economy is no longer seen as a machine, but as a connection of dynamic relationships where networks dominate. This economy is more conducive to skills such as intuition, empathy, and the ability to work with paradox and uncertainty. And they say this economy works for women. Leaders in this economy must have the ability to ask the right questions, because asking the right question is more important than having the answers. The world is in any case too complex to have all the answers. Mastering the skill of asking the right question is a leader differentiator. Leaders will need to be learners, listeners, adapters, storytellers, nurturers, and synthesizers. Relationships lead when it comes to attracting, retaining, and rewarding business and outweighs transactions. Connection and not competition is the benchmark. One thus differentiates with sound long-term relationships. People talk to people. Relationships outlive new knowledge. The connection economy requires that leaders have flexibility, are good at cooperating, have a talent with words, are emotionally sensitive, have a talent to read nonverbal cues, and have an interactive, collaborative leadership style. And we heard this morning when the keynote speaker said they find that the young people that they work with don't have this and they need to develop this. They furthermore need to be intuitive, patient, have empathy, and be consensus seeking. The organization in this connection economy has teamwork built into it. Team leadership and team performance are to receive a larger reward focus than individual performance. Leaders who collaborate with others across organizational boundaries are the successful leaders and valued, and not the shining individual stars. And leaders engage people to get their opinions as part of making decisions to increase commitment. The connection economy also requires the development of followership. It requires followers who manage themselves well, think for themselves, and see themselves as of equal importance as their leader in realizing the organization purpose. The follower that will excel in the connection economy is committed to a higher purpose, works towards the organizational purpose and its principles and values. These followers build their strengths and have high standards of performance. They constantly learn and update their skill and ability. They take risks. They are credible, honest, and they speak up. They give credit where due, admit mistakes, and they are also insightful and candid. In short, it is a courageous follower that demonstrates self-leadership that the connection economy requires. So let me summarize. The connection economy requires organizations that are fit for people to work and flourish in, where people are prepared to share the gifts of creativity and passion. People that build relationships and behave in an emotionally intelligent way are essential in this new economy. People that understand that who they are matters most and that are innovative and creative. The connection economy requires that leaders will listen, ask questions, tell stories, seek consensus, and collaborate. Followers in the connection economy are candid, values-driven, and work at high levels of quality and performance. The connection economy could and should be the most rewarding and most humane era of this century. It is also the most conducive to having more women in leadership roles. Fully realizing the connection economy is in our hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Can we quickly learn a new skill? Seeing as Peter keeps making you get up, I'll let you do something else. Can you all cross your arms for me this way, please? And then turn it around and do this. And then do it fast. You have no idea what you look like from this. All right, thank you very much, Renee. Can I please introduce Mapefo, who's next in line? And welcome.
The Moses Kotane Institute specializes in nurturing leaders through structured programs and the disciplines we deem most imperative for the future. Our Engineering and Applied Sciences program is designed to equip learners and enable them to pursue successful careers. Our programs grow individuals as well as provide skills to the economy, driving economic development and sustainable employment. Become our partner and let's invest in our tomorrow together.
Work in any form of any occupation, you would need a number of variety of careers. So we were launching a prestigious project which came as a result of us agreeing to place 1,000 unemployed graduates in a number of employer associations or employer companies within the transport sector. And that was done at the beginning of the NSDS 3 in 2011. What followed was we started first. Sometimes it's easy to criticize, but it's always better to do something with a problem that you see. This is what we did. We started in 2011, signed an agreement with an institution that had a bad name. It used to be called South African Unemployed Graduates Agency, but they realized that, you know, what you call is what you become. They then changed the name Unemployed Graduates and they called themselves Graduate Development Agency. And they have on their website, on their database, about 200,000 unemployed graduates. We decided this is an NPO. This is an institution that really needed our help. This is an institution that had been working for a number of years with Nedbank, which gave them offices and office spaces. We signed an agreement and we took membership with them. And we started by placing interns at our offices. And I must share that sometimes if you look at the rules we put in place, they can be an impediment for somebody unemployed. I found out that when we did the interviews, the unemployed graduates, when we did their background checks to check if they had the qualifications that they were supposed to have, we found out we couldn't get that sorted out because they owed the university money. So we had to innovate and go beyond the problem and appoint these graduates. And I'm sure most of you would know that if you work in the public sector, if you go behind the rules, sometimes you get frowned upon. But because of our passion for skills development, I said, let's place these graduates. Let them get the first salary to be able to pay what they are owing the university, and we can sort this thing along the line. So I took the first bet, and in April 2011, we then decided, how are we going to look at the impact of what we're doing? How are we going to really realize the objectives of the National Skills Development Strategy, which is to look at unemployed youth and unemployable youth and find them work and find a place for them in the workplace. We then continued further by signing an MOU with SACDA in September 2011. And prior to that, SACDA had met with the Department of Public Works, and Department of Public Works was in a dire strait. They needed people in their property division. They needed people in supply chain because there was a lot of problems with their asset register and a whole range of things. We as TITA decided in agreement with SACDA that we were going to place some graduates in the Department of Public Works. That would be like doing actuarial sciences, that would be in their property division, hopefully with an intention that if they don't get placed in the Department of Public Works, they can be placed in the transport sector later in their lives and help the transport sector as it goes on this big infrastructure drive. So we then had a contract for 1,000 graduates and we started implementing this project in January. What were the pillars that made this thing successful? It was our partnerships with the private sector as well as the public sector. But it needed to be a viable thing. And for it to be viable from our side, we needed to provide the funding for these graduates to be placed. Obviously, it talks to the objectives of the National Skills Development Strategy, and we couldn't have done this had it been for the support of a variety of stakeholders, ranging from the Minister himself to the DG, the National Skills Authority itself, but it also speaks to the Skills Accord, commitments that were made when the Skills Accord was put together, but it also really speaks to the objectives of the Youth Employment Accord. We got support from the Chamber of Commerce and the industry as a whole. We got support from BUSA. There was support obviously from the board and management as a whole, but I must highlight that without the transport industry and some of the government departments, it might not have been realized. The project was unique in that for a number of years, we had tried to place graduates, but we had tried to do it directly with our employer companies. What that tended to do for us as a SETA was to give us an administrative burden of trying to work according to the standards of each and every company that you work with and enable the graduate to be placed. So we then decided, let's find a common partner that can place in all of our different industries and see how we can measure impact in that way. It was a bold step. When I signed the agreement, 1,000 doesn't look bad, but when you quantify it in monetary terms, it was 58 million. I really nearly fell off my chair because I was like, where am I going to get the 58 million from? But we started placing, like I said, internally within TITA first, and we started working with a variety of institutions, levy payers and non-levy payers. We worked with different companies, government departments, state-owned entities. But what I'm really always humbled when I see these graduates are those graduates that we placed in the FET colleges that are now called TVET colleges, and those that we placed in schools, just to allow the teachers and management in schools to focus on the work that they do. We obviously had to have a service level agreement with all sorts of things that you need to put in a service level agreement, and our role as an intermediary between all these different role players was to provide a stipend of 4,500 per month. But what I found interesting was that SAGDA came with a concept to say, you know, these graduates are feeding a lot of people with the stipend. Maybe we need to look at how they can contribute to the unemployment insurance fund, and there were discussions held with the unemployment insurance fund, but there was top-up funding that came from the medical aid from Old Mutual. Those graduates were now having medical aid, something that they never had. And KPMG also put in a top up on top of the money that we had given to our graduates. So if you looked at a KPMG graduate, they were getting something like 12,000. So most of our industry role players came on board. When we needed to bring them through, we spoke to our partner South African Airways, we spoke to Mango, we spoke to South African Airlink, because they're coming from all of the provinces. So they would come through our partners just to alleviate the challenges and the concerns for the graduates as they get to their work placement. And if I was to answer the question, getting people to work, whose responsibility is this? I think it is a responsibility of everyone. It takes a commitment from the industry to open up their doors, because if I have the money to pay the stipend, but the employer companies are looking at this as a burden, that they don't have time, that these people can make coffee and tea, then it's not going to help anyone. So it takes commitment from the industry to actually open their doors and provide mentors for these people as they are going through the program. But also, training institutions need to provide the requisite skills by the industry. And when I talk training institutions, it's not only SETAs, higher education institutions, all institutions, private providers, and so forth. So it requires a lot of us to work and have a commitment. The second one for me is it requires partnership. You have to have a partnership. You have to have a partnership that works with a variety of stakeholders. We have found that as we placed more graduates, most of our departments of transport were coming to the to the party to have an agreement with us. And as it stands, we have an agreement with almost all the provinces as reflected there. We obviously had a lot of support and we had to partner a lot with government. I've seen an advert last week for 45 unemployed graduates that we're going to place in the Limpopo Department of Transport. We all know that it was under administration. There's a lot of capacity that is required in the department, but we are very humbled to have contributed to the turnaround strategy of the Department of Public Works. And these are some of the graduates that are coming from all walks of life. Some are in TETA, some are in other companies, and in total that was the year that has passed, 13-14. We placed 1,000 graduates within the number of companies that are reflected there. Some are adopted schools, those are schools throughout the provinces but I'm really going to leave all of you with a challenge. TETA placed 30. TETA is not a big institution. We walked the talk. We started with us. We placed these people. Recently, we have taken what we call work integrated learning interns, those that need experiential learning from the universities of technology and the TVET colleges, and they were in our offices. So I'm asking all of us to walk the talk and start doing it as well in order for these unemployed graduates that are currently losing hope and not getting an opportunity. So I'm not going to go through the testimonials, but it always gives me joy to meet a beneficiary of any program that we have contributed through funding for. And I was pleasantly surprised when I got here and I met one beneficiary of one program. And she said to me, well, I moved from TETA and I went overseas and I've come back. My life has changed. I'm working for Moses Kotane. And I was like, pleasantly, I meet up with these people and it just brings me joy. It makes me feel I'm making a difference, no matter what the criticism and the complaints are. There are different, I always use an analogy that if you look at a dog, and I'm not saying people are dogs, but if you look at a dog and there is a car passing, have you seen that a dog doesn't bark at a passing car? A car that is in motion gets barked at. But if it is standing, I've never seen a dog bark at an idle car. So when I hear a lot of passionate criticism about the things that SETAs do, it tells me that SETAs are making a difference and they are moving. If they were not, nobody was going to. The second one, I watch my pets. If the moon is bright, have you seen that what your dogs will do? Woo! Because it is bright. Something that is bright attracts attention. That's what I can do. Hallelujah. Now, this is just what I'm going to leave you with. I believe we can do a lot to create jobs. And for the public institutions, I advise you, sometimes go around the rules and change the rules to make a difference in somebody's life so that you can create jobs. Because if you were to look at the rules of PFMA and all of those things, they can just make you want not to do nothing. But our country needs people that can make a difference and take this country somewhere else. I am pleasantly surprised to hear that there's an SMME support program that helps people to be placed in SMMEs. And I'm sure when I leave this podium, I'm going to interact with you because I believe we can support SMMEs to place people in workplaces. The third one, RPL support. Sometimes people have spent a lot of time they have got experience, but that experience is not in a certificate. We need to support RPL. And to show that we practice what we preach In the Department of Transport in Limpopo, they have got what they call government garage mechanics. We are supporting them with a skills development program that will RPL them, look at the knowledge that they've gained, give them real relevant knowledge so that the government garage can also perform just like any other garage. The last one is we support NGOs and we also support CBOs. We are engaged currently with a lot of stakeholder engagements with our NGOs and our CBOs because we want to support them to make a difference in people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I must say there's some synthesis here. IPD are an RPL center. We won an innovation award here a few years ago, and I actually was involved with the training of those RPL advisors for the Department of Limpopo. But I can take it further than that. TITA paid for my moderator training in 2001. So, right, last but not least, and we seem to have left the thorn for last. If Dion could please come up.
Good morning, let me say good afternoon, everybody. I must apologize for my voice. The climate change didn't do me well this morning. I just want to say, first of all, thank you to ArcelorMittal for inviting VW to come to the Skills Summit. I had the honor in 2011 to visit the company in Emden, and what a magnificent manufacturing company they have in Germany as well as in Vandenberg Park. So I just want to say to them, thank you very much for giving us opportunity to show the people what we do as well. I'm gonna try and be very quick. I'm gonna give you an overview of VW skills development, the learnings, the plant areas, the corporate social key focus, technical training programs, and then also the challenges we have with skills development. Is it okay? Is that better? Okay. Just a broad overview of the Learning Academy. The previous lady said that we must invest more in women or lady leaders, and there you can see there's the proof of that. We're only 2 gentlemen in the Learning Academy. We've got the Production Academy, a Technical Academy, Leadership Academy, National Sales and Marketing Academy, and then also Commercial Academy. I'll go through the individuals just now, and then we also have Administrative Finance and Support, which is also the function of our SDF. We've got Lisa Wilmot. She drives the Production Academy, and she does a variety of products and service and administrating, also operator training. She provides multi-skilling for operators in the technical education and business knowledge courses, and also drive AMIC compulsory, which is compulsory for all the OEMs, in the 7 OEMs we have in the auto chamber. She also provides training on new modules and introduction via local foreign programs. We also, the latest one we launched now was the 250 GP and also the 270 GP. Those are our Polo ranges. She coordinates adult basic education. We still have operators in the plant that also still participate in these programs, and we allow them to participate still. Sorry, that was a quick one. I'll get to the others what I missed. And then myself, I'm the manager of the Technical Learning Academy, where we offer professional technical training to all internal and external customers. We support and train a variety of short courses in hydraulics, pneumatics, electronics, robotics, high-tech training that is required for internal VW employees as well as external companies as well. We train for over 116 external companies within the Eastern Cape. We also offer trades training in motor mechanics, electrical, machining and fitting. We coordinate and manage the autotronics and mechatronics learnerships, which is key in a manufacturing company like ourselves, BMW and Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, and in actual fact all the other auto industry OEMs. Technical aptitude assessment and testing is also done before and is part of our screening process as well. We don't throw the marbles from the top. We do basic hand skills for different companies as well. And then we also do trade testing for both internal VW SA as well as external customers. We also train a lot of unemployed persons as well, which support GIETA programs as well as the Masita programs. In the Leadership Academy, Joan Peters head up that department, and she also administers graduate bursaries, Vandiara students. She do corporate trainees for all VW employees, and then also non-technical training, commercial trainees and disabled employees. We have a program that we run for disabled people with disabilities in business administration, and then we also have one for technical training for people with disabilities. And then we also have, which Joan run, an assessment center, and then she also does the management of the division's team building programs, which is a great part of our development for operators as well. And then we also do employee surveys, which is done twice a year. And then we have also management conferences. We have our management conference every second year at the gyms here in Johannesburg. And then we see coordinate and run element of commercial academy in human resources and also doing training administration in learner pathways for the company. In national sales and organization, we have Kim. She does a variety of programs for service and administer, offer sales to marketing divisions as well as the purchasing divisions, which is also situated in Sandton and Centurion. And then we have commercial academies. This is our NSO, which is then operated by Safika Hopking, and she also does all the external training for these areas as well. Then we've got Derek. I'm not going to read through all of the responsibilities. He's our SDF, and he plans and organizes all of our training interventions as well as some of our placements of the learners in the company. And he's also responsible for our QMSS system, which is a very important aspect in doing training and education. In the Learning Academy, the numbers that we train per month, we do employed learners, which is learnerships and apprentice, we do 50. And the unemployed apprentice, learners and FET programs, we do 126. The FET program, we refer to programs that is done for artisans. One of the speakers also spoke about artisans that's qualified. A lot of companies do not employ unemployed artisans immediately because they always seek for artisans that's got experience. We ran a program together with Masita last year, and we took 39 unemployed artisans, and out of the 39, we've got 28 artisans in permanent positions. In other learning areas, we also deal with the colleges, the East Cape Midland College. We train for GMSA, although they're one of our competitors, we also do training for them. We do training for MA Automotive, which is a manufacturing company who does pictures and jigsphas. And then we also do training for Office of the Premier. And in total, we do 95 unemployed learners and graduates for them. In internal production and technical staff leadership, this is mostly, and operators as well, we do 722 learning activities a month. On an external apprentice trainees, artisans, students, trade tests and technicians, we do short courses and we average about 440 training programs per month. So in average total participation per month, we do 1,433 training interventions. Our training approach, we do it in a blending learning, and we do the networks and communicates in practices. We do talks to schools and colleges and also at universities. We do classroom training, we do simulations, we do on-the-job training, which is mostly on operators and apprentices programs, as well as the learnership programs. We do performance support, that is doing assessments while on training. And then also we have a big percentage of e-learning programs in our e-learning centers as well. Then just the facilities that we use, we have world-class academy facilities in the engine plant, assembly, press shop, and in the body shop. We launched in 2012 one of the most advanced press shops in South Africa. And then Volkswagen Learning Academy facilities, which is the technical facilities as well. We do robot training for the plant and external customers, and then we also do simulations, which is supported by Festo and Megatronic Systems. We also take care of our people. We cannot have a workforce if they're sick, so I need to go back to the health and wellness center when I get back to PE now. So these are the areas and sections that we also look after all of our employees there. We also have a gym that was established last year, and we spent about 3.5 million, so it's at the People Pavilion, which is also our sporting facility. And then per year we spend 1 million annually on HIV/AIDS and wellness tests. We have also a corporate social investment, and our key focus areas, we look at education. I'm not going to go through all of the key aspects now for time, and then with the one that's very important to us is youth involvement. We have Love Life Center and the Youth Center within KwaNobuhle, which take care of school leavers, people that are at school, and we provide for them opportunities to network and to look at what is available in the industry as well. We also have sporting codes, soccer fun runs, which is hosted at the Sports Pavilion, and then also we do the learnership program for people with disabilities. At the moment we have 8 technical apprentices who's on the program. It's a pilot program that's also done together with Masita, and in next year 2015 the first group will qualify, and then we will take it from there, because it is a big challenge for people with disabilities in a technical field. They still have to be mobile, so the main scholars that we have is people with ADD and also people who was involved in accidents. We rehabilitate them, and then we take them through a 3-year apprentice and learnership program. And then we also have the Think Blue Factory, which contribute to the environmental aspect of a country and also to the black carbon footprint. In skills planning, which is one of the key requirements identified in skills development strategy, we do a work skills plan and also an annual training report, which is critical for strategic planning in any organization. I'm not going to read through all of that. I'll show you now. The workplace skills plan and annual training report is based on the following: existing training records, organizational priorities, skills development priorities, skills beneficiaries plan, and then also the skills profile. It's important to have a profile for each and every employer which is working for VW. And then the world skills plan indicators, the skills gap, basically the areas and reasons for the skills gap in engineering competencies, trades, learnerships, apprenticeships, and technicians. We look at qualified supervisors, which is always the middle management in any company. And then limited multi-skill operators and artisans that we're facing with. And then we also look at illiterate PC skilled operators. The indicators are increased plant capacity and equipment, and an increase in plant performance as well as equity requirements, which was spoken about a lot here. And then we also do workplace requirements increase technology capacity. When we have a new launch, we always have to upskill and multi-skill people in every aspect to build the cars. And then increased technology equipment, laser robots require a certain level of competency from operators as well. So we have to take the operators to the next level. Our synergies that we do is with industry, government, and labor. And we compile it and we say we do a proper management structure, do a proper training analysis, and then also combine with labor to have a successful synergy within the training pool. All training employees against targets, These are just the figures that we have for 2012. We completed 75% of our headcount. Actual training 2012 was 100% planned training. And then just planned training for 2013, 69% of total headcount. And then actual training in 2013 was 90% of planned training. And then planned training for 2014, current state is 72% of the 2014 headcount. Those are just the figures. And we get measured often. And that is why VW has been the benchmark amongst OEMs as having best practice for submissions of our ATR and WSP plans. Actual plans training for OEMs is currently at 57 to 65%. VW is recognized at the Auto Chamber as having the highest percentage of actual training completed over the last 3 years. That is where we won the award as well, as best employer. And then training alignment to production, how we do it. We look at the technologies that is available, and Megatronics speaks to the technologies because it covers 4 engineering fields, namely control engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and compute engineering. And all 4 of those fields speak to any automotive manufacturing company. That is why we encourage learners, graduates to study in those fields that is required in manufacturing. And then just to have a learning academy, especially a technical learning academy, to be an accredited training provider, you require the following accreditation by MSITA, which is the Manufacturing Engineering Related Service Education and Training Authority. You need accredited facility for all accredited trades, accredited assessors, accredited moderators, accredited trade test facilitators, quality management systems for portfolios. And VW is the only accredited trade test center in the metropolitan region. And for all of these accredited assessors, moderators, and trade test facilitators, MSITA sponsors and fund all of these qualifications. The Technical Learning Academy training programs, we have apprentices which study in the mechanical field, tool making, electrical, motor mechanic, and millwrights. The projects that we support for MSITA, Office of the Premier, further education of training of artisans, and we also do advanced artisan training programs for MSITA as well. And then we have multi-skilling within the plant, and that is electrical and tool making, and mostly motor mechanics and auto electricians as well. And then we have an adult development program. This program is for our employees that has been working years on the line and doesn't have a formal qualification, and we allow them, give them 2 years of formal education and then allow them to qualify in their specific trades or relevant trades where they have many years of experience. We also have the learnerships, which is mechatronics, motor mechanics, electricians, fitting, tool making, autotronics, and machining as well. And then on the experiential P1s, we offer opportunities for electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, chemical engineers, analytical engineers, chemistry. And then we also do P2s practical for industrial, electrical, and mechanical engineers. And then what we spoke about RPL, we also give recognition to prior learning. It's almost the same as the adult development program, but we also give opportunities via the Chieta programs for unemployed people that come knock at our door for further education basically and training, and also for qualification. So we offer also the gap training and then qualify these people that stand on the roads and also do work for our society. That wasn't part of my presentation, sorry. So this is just that means that I have to finish, of course. And this is just an overview of the Technical Learning Academy at VW. And the challenges that we have at the colleges is just a quick rundown of candidates to be assessed. There are measurements in place. Each employer has a learning map. You have to have that. The ability to work towards a national qualification, ensure quality assurance systems are in place, ensure accurate records are kept, and are the trainers well qualified, which we find very interesting at some other areas, and then develop a work skills plan, develop unit standards, we were also talking about, and we are in one of those, how can I put it, the unit standards. We develop most of the unit standards within the qualifications that we train at the different OEMs. So we are fortunate enough to make sure that our technologies are built into the unit standards. We through converting of jobs categories to the OFO codes. Placements of learners after training are not guaranteed but is vacancy driven, but we make an extra effort to place them at companies. We have limited dealing in gender, race, set targets with BBB and to fall in line with Masita, and then also conversions from AMIC to NQF. AMIC is not a qualification, so we're in the process of getting an NQF qualification on level 2 for all our operators at this stage. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope the best for the rest of the summer.
Thank you very much. I'm very sure that your worms are now more interested in food than your brains are in questions. So I would encourage you to come and make sure you make use of your token for the speakers, and they will all very kindly then answer all of your questions via emails or phone calls or whatever the case may be. And on that note, I'm going to hand back to Peter.
A big hand for all our speakers. Thank you very much indeed. I know that was quite a lot of information to take in, but they were all quite important. And don't forget, you can poke on the board outside to get all those details, and you can engage with the panelists now and during lunch as well. But now, listen, after lunch, and we're going to do half an hour, literally, 3 focus sessions. And this is where you need to go. Session 1, the importance of assessment of the development of talent, sponsored by ArcelorMittal, Diamond Room. That's in here. So if you want to be in that focus session, you're in here. Second one, turning South Africa into a genuine economic growth path, the case for skills development through STEM. That's going to be in the Ruby Room, sponsored by Moses Kotane Institute. And then the third one is skills, knowledge, and abilities for the young tradesman, sponsored by Steinmuller Africa, and that's going to be happening in the Emerald Room. So those are the 3 sessions. Can we say 2:15? So you've got to really eat your lunch as if you're at boarding school, like quick, yeah? And then we come back, do those sessions. And in fact, you'll get further instructions there. So just find your way to your next session at 2:15. And also just to let you know that movement that happened earlier was actually an earth tremor. Apparently, the epicenter was Orkney in the northwest. The US Geological Survey said it was 5.3 magnitude, and there may have been some damage to housing there as well. So you survived an earthquake. This is a good sign. Hey! All right, everyone. Quick lunch, and we'll see you in the sessions.
Since 2009, the Moses Kotane Institute has been providing leadership programs to communities. In our drive for people-centered economic development, we focus on leadership development in the areas of government as well as the more traditional structures. This leadership and indigenous knowledge program is specifically designed to help further enhance efficiency and sustainable service delivery. Become our partner and let's invest in our tomorrow together.